You can't get away from it. Every draft has to have a grade. What are the Chiefs today? I'm Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, Chiefs Kingdom. We hope that you just loved the draft weekend. If you didn't see our recap shows, go back and check those out. We're going to grade it out for you today and give you all the information that you need about what this is going to look like. You can find Chris's work over at KC Chiefs Corner. You can find my work at NFL33.com, RGRfootball.com, and still Rogue APC if you still want that draft guide to check out all of these prospects. We're going to go through what the fit and finish is going to be for each player that was selected this weekend, starter, rotational, or just a depth guy. We're going to get to that coming up. Then before that, we'll do grades for all the day 3 selections and give you our thoughts on where we thought they were taken, what that meant, and we will start with grading the top 100 selections. You can find that and much more over at our text line, 816-357-8781 if you want breaking news. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Check out another Locked On show for your next one. We are always free and available everywhere all the time, so make sure if you're on YouTube, like and sub. If you're on the audio or you're seeing this on a webpage, go subscribe to the audio feed as well. Let's get after it. The top 100 picks. I think we had a pretty good reaction on night one with Josh Simmons, but on retrospect of everything else that we've heard, found out, what little media he did for the Chiefs website, what's your impression after a couple of days removal? Where do you grade the selection of Josh Sims?
If you're looking at value for the 32nd pick, I don't know that you can get better value. This goes back to the exact same thing with Trey Smith a couple years ago when he went to the Chiefs late in the draft because of a heart issue. Obviously, Simmons is a completely different issue. It's a knee, patellar tendon, and you have worries about how that's going to stack up long-term and his potential long-term. But you can't get a player like that at 32 ever unless there's something that's holding them there. So to me, it's you pick a guy that you trust your medical staff on. You trust that they know what they're looking at and what they're doing. And you and I have talked about this a little bit on the air even about how it was a patellar tendon, but it wasn't necessarily the worst type of patellar tendon. So it kind of changes the scope a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. What letter grade would you give it?
I have a hard time giving anything other than an A-, and mainly because of the value that you're getting in the premium position. Brett Veach continues to pick premium positions after messing up a couple of years ago when he took Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You don't take a running back in the first round. Premium positions in the first round only, and he's done that since.
Yeah, I agree.
And I still count wide receivers premium. I know some don't.
Some don't, and that's okay. They're right on the edge. For this pick, they put a ton of work in. They got all the information they can, but there's still some risk with it. If they're absolutely right and he can recover back to where he was, and this is not anything that jeopardizes what the player is he can be, this is an A+. There's no question about it. He's the best tackle in the draft based on his film. If he can get back to the guy that was on that film, A+. There is a small percentage that doesn't happen, that they're wrong in their evaluation, and maybe he doesn't play. It could be an F. It could be that he doesn't get to play ever. That is a minute but real possibility. So overall, I lean towards the A. I trust their medical as well, but I will say because of the risk, this has to be a B for me because there is more risk than any other selection they've made, maybe in their tenure.
I still think that the risk is minute compared to you have that sensor of risk that you could take players and they'll never play. Obviously, this one's a little bit higher because he has a known injury. So I get what you're saying, but if you get a franchise left tackle, even if it's just for 5 years, it's still worth the first round pick. Like, it doesn't really matter if he has a shorter career. It doesn't dampen the value of that pick at this point for me. If he's only able to play 5 years, so be it. If he can play at even a above average level, it doesn't have to be a Pro Bowl level or an All Pro level or whatever you want to call it. If he can do that, then I think you're winning at that point.
That's fair. The other two selections on this night, Omar, Norman-Lott, Ashley Gelati, both have some warts on them. Arm length on Gelati has a big concern for people. Norman-Lott, not a three-down player at the NFL level to project, right? I think he can get there, but it is a bit of a projection. He's a pass rusher. Both these guys are pass rushers. Gelati can play the run actually a little bit better or more consistently, in my opinion. So for all those people that are angry, if you flip them, does that change the grades for you? Because I have B's on both of these grades.
No, I think that it's where you're drafting them and what the Chiefs needed. I think that also gives them a little bit of a plus. I would say probably a B minus on both, and probably a little bit higher maybe on Norman-Lott because that is such a big need, and I think that he will fill that need for them. But overall, I still feel pretty good about it. And then, don't forget, we still have another pick on day 2 to talk about in Noel Williams.
Yeah, and I do believe that he is a guy that can come in and compete right now. I like his feistiness. I like some of the things that he brings. And again, got to get ball skills, got to get better, more abundant ability to take the ball away and prevent passing from your competitors. That is the bottom line. I give this one a B minus because I think the fit is really there. I'm not sure about the jumping to the level of competition. The Pac-10 and Cal in particular, I think does have a little bit to leave to be desired, but I think the fit was there. I think the value was there. I like it.
Yeah, no, I like this pick. I think that anytime you can add another premium position in the third round, and the way they talk about him, they believe that they got a starter. And if he pushes Jalen Watson to your fourth corner, you're going to be really good at that corner position because Christian Fulton, I think, is going to come in and be a very solid pickup for Kansas City, and we already know what they have in Trent McDuffie. So I like this pick, especially if they can make McDuffie stay inside on when there's 3 wide receivers on the field.
Yeah, agreed completely. I'm looking forward to it. That's just part of it. There is another day that we have to get to. It is a long one, but we'll get to the day 3 grades as well as all those picks coming up next.
Imagine watching your team live, feeling the energy of the crowd and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. That's where Gametime comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. Gametime Picks is amazing. It curates and makes it easier to find the better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and much, much more. I just checked the Gametime app, and there are amazing deals on some huge matchups coming up. Go check it out. The lowest price guarantee, or Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. It is a super deal. And you have peace of mind with seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Make sure that you like and sub. Thanks for making us your first listen. Check out the rest of the Locked On podcast for your next one. And we will have more content from some of the other Locked On hosts coming up for you. People that know these draft selections from a different point of view. So make sure you're with us all week and all month as we get ready for the next phase of the Kansas City Chiefs. On to day 3. 3 picks, Jalen Royals, Jeffrey Bossa, Rashard Smith. Starting with Royals, I'm really happy that this value is there. I had him a whole round ahead of where he went. I think this is not only a good fit on the board, but a good fit on the depth chart as well. And I think he's a guy that can come in and compete right now. I like the elusiveness, the change of direction in particular. I give this one a solid B minus because of the value they got in that 4th round.
So I have to ask a question on the way you're grading these. When you look at this, are you basing it on your value of where you think the player was or the player in general? Because to me, when I look at somebody that I think is probably a 3rd round pick and Kansas City got him and he could be a good fit, I would say that's probably a B plus in my opinion. just because I think that he fits what they do and can fit the roster, and they got him at a better value than I expected him to be available.
Yeah, I agree. I'm grading against the value of the selection and what they're projecting him to go do. Because if you're picking a selection, in this case, Royals, who you have 3 starters, you have another draft selection that you still are dealing with, and we'll talk about that. Fighting against Juju Smith-Schusters of the world, Nico Remigio, who's got some return ability. It's a little bit darker of a path. We'll talk about what they can be coming up in the next segment, but I grade against that fit as well.
Fair enough. Just was curious.
Yeah. So you're in there on Royals as a B plus, a little bit higher than me. What about the boss's selection?
I think when you look at this, I didn't ever think that they were going to be taking a linebacker until late. When you start looking at special teams types guys, and that's exactly what I feel like pick is going to be. Can he be something more than that? And we'll talk about that in the next segment. Yes, but for right now, in the 5th round, to get a guy that has and it's not insane speed, but it's good speed, and the ability to do what he does and protect against the pass and drop into coverages, getting a guy that can do that because he used to play safety. He has those types of movement skills. That is a plus in my opinion. I'd give this a B minus.
I like that. I think it is very good to see a projection that he can be a contributor early on special teams. Is he quite the athlete that Cam Jones is or Jack Cochran is? No. But there is an ability there that I think is innate to playing the ball game. And so I like that as well. It's just fighting through the fact you have 3 starters and you have 2 established special teams contributors at the position. I like it, but I'm going to call it a C plus because the path isn't quite there for me as much as it is for some of the other selections.
Fair. The way I look at this is I don't think you're going to get a 5th round pick, generally speaking, unless you're going to have some kind of warts like a Trey Smith type pick. So to me, that's why I'm looking at this is they're trying to fill special teams roles and give them an opportunity to maybe have something later.
Yeah, I agree. Last one on day 2, Rashard Smith. Unique guy, very much a work in progress. How do you see him? What do you give him for a grade?
It's going to be a question of how much he gets on the field. And it's probably not even a question of how much he gets on the field year 1, because right now that running back room is pretty full. Not saying that they have a ton of explosiveness, but they do have a lot of players that they seem to like. They brought in Mitchell. They brought back Kareem Hunt. They have Pacheco. All 3 of those guys are going to be gone in 2026. So his role in 2025 is going to be a lot different than what I think his role could be in 2026. But it's just a matter of giving themselves more explosion, giving themselves somebody that can come in and play a running back role or play running back, but also split out like a wide receiver. It's something that they haven't had in a long time, and it just adds scheme versatility. It adds versatility to be able to attack defenses with different players, and getting him out on linebackers is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Overall, I mean, it's a 7th round pick and a 7th round selection. If he's able to step in and get himself, a couple hundred yards receiving in 2025, I think that it probably becomes for a 7th round pick, probably a C plus, B minus type situation. But it's a running back, so it's one of those things where, again, it's all going to depend on how much he gets on the field.
Yeah, agreed. I think the boon for this selection is the fact that he's such a good pass catcher. You could split him out. He is a former wide receiver. That helps quite a bit. And so I think that mitigates some of the value drop off, which I do see going into a guy whose vision and experience, especially, I do like him in the zone run scheme, but he doesn't quite know what he's doing. He doesn't necessarily know what he's looking at. That's going to take some training up. It's more of a stretch for me to see that from here. But he does have a nice way about picking his way through a defense. When he does get a chance to get his motor started, say the 3rd step, he's generally able to make someone miss. And I think that's a skill set that you got to reward. Overall, behind the players that are on here and understanding what he can be, it's still trying to find and shape the peg into the hole. I give this one a C, but that's okay. I think it has the ability to turn into something more We'd like to know what you guys think. Make sure you put your grades in the comments. We would like to see them. Now, grades are one thing, but what their role is on the roster is even more important. We're going to hit all of these players coming up next. The Armada pick of the week is brought to you by our friends at Nissan and the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. This week, we're highlighting the draft picks that stand out the most to us. And I think the guy that has the most upside, the most character to show the strength and the power to push this team forward is Ashton Gelati. Might have been picked a little bit high for what you thought. He was certainly picked higher than I had him on the board, but he is a guy that brings that power, that brings that nonstop motor, and that's what you need, not just for this game, but for your vehicle. You can get it all into heavy duty, rugged, and be able to conquer the road like he does the field with Nissan. Go out there, check it out. When it comes to the Armada, the go forth and conquer attitude is exactly the same as Ashton Gelati. It's cleared to be the top pick of the draft. Whether you're ready to conquer or not, the road ahead has to be met with confidence, just like you can with the all-new Nissan Armada and all of our outstanding vehicles. Take the Nissan Armada, the Rogue, or the Pathfinder, and go find your next big adventure. Grades are good. You got to go with what the front office saw, how they maneuvered, and what they did. But now it's very quick to turn the page about what's the potential here, especially to begin. OTAs are going to get off to a good start. We're talking about between now and August 1st training camp, projecting who's going to be where with a lot of varied circumstances. For me, and we'll go through each of them one by one, Josh Simmons, not going to be a starter this year. I believe he can be a depth player that could see the field at times in a very, very narrow band of participation, but he is depth at this point for 2025. For 2026, he could be your starter. That's the variation I see.
I have a hard time disagreeing with you on that. I think it's possible that he finds a way to get a starting role, but he would have to, shock them with how healthy he is when he gets into training camp, and it's going to have to be a dogfight to be able to take that role. The reality is it doesn't matter if he starts in 2025, as long as he has the ability to step in and they have a left tackle that can play decently enough. If Jalen Moore can come in and just be serviceable or a little bit better than serviceable at left tackle, and you give the ability to let Simmons sit for a year behind him and learn and get healthy, I think that that's a win-win for Kansas City. If he has to play, he has to play. I do think he has the starter ability in 2025 if his knee is healthy. If he isn't, then I think he's your starter in 2026.
Yeah, I like it. Next down the line, Norman-Lott. I do believe he is a rotational player in 2025. Is there a possibility for something different? There is, but I think that's where it settles right now. Jerry Tillery, Mike Pennell, likely to play on first down. Guard the run. Just do that. Is he a second rotational player? Instead of waiting for third down, does he come in on second? That's possible. In 2026, I think Omar Norman-Lott is the starter next to Chris Jones. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that. I think that when you look at who they have in this defensive tackle class or this defensive tackle room, it's a question of can he dethrone the veterans when it comes to their entire game. I don't think he can when it comes to the run, not in 2025. In 2026, I think he is a starter. I think that they are going to groom him and try to get him ready to go and try to get him better against the run. And I would expect that he's going to get a couple opportunities to be out there on first downs, just not a every first down type player.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Third pick, Ashton Gelati. I do think he also is a rotational player. He's got pass rush skills. Whether you're worried about his arm length or not, he can come around the edge. He has more bend than a man his size generally does. There are opportunities to put him on the field, especially when they go to the package with just Chris Jones and a bunch of stand-up edge rushers. That is something that I'm looking forward to. But I think it's partial time. It's rotational for now. In order to become a starter next year, I think that has to be coincide with either Charles Omenihu not working out, Mike Dana having to play inside more, and FAU not making any progress. So my guess is right now he's a rotational player in 25 and a rotational player in 26. And beyond that, he has the ability to become a starter.
I think he can become a starter. I don't think it'll be in 25, and I'm kind of with you. I don't think it'll be in 2026. Minnie Hugh isn't going to be here, at least as of right now. He won't be here in 2026, so it's a question of can he unseat Mike Dana? While I think he can, I don't think that they'll go that direction unless he plays out of his mind and is able to show more pass rush than I think he's going to be able to give them. There's a reason he was a third-round pick and not picked in the first round. I do think that he has a motor and he can get after the quarterback, and he has pass rush ability and added pressure. He doesn't have to be a starter. He just has to be able to contribute. If he can give them 20, 30 pressures this year throughout the season, maybe 40. I mean, it's going to depend on how many snaps he gets, obviously, but if he can give you that kind of pressure throughout the season, that's what matters. Sacks are great, don't get me wrong, but you want pressure. If you can get pressure, you're going to get turnovers as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. Second pick in the third round, Noah Williams. This is where it gets interesting. Because of the positional depth right now, I think Noah Williams has an opportunity to start in 2025 as a rookie, as a third-round pick. And I think that's great value. He's easily going to be rotational depth because we know Jalen Watson has had trouble staying healthy for full seasons. We know Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson have not been up to the task as starters as well. So whether it's Fulton and McDuffie in whatever arrangement, there is an opportunity to become that third starter. And if at the very least, be a rotational player that you get quality snaps out of in 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, and don't forget, I mean, he can also come in and contribute on special teams and give you, help there as well. So there's insane value taking a corner in the third, and if he can come in and start in 2026, I think, or in 2025, that's a boon for you, getting him where you got him. I don't know that it's a for sure thing. I would say that Jalen Watson is going to be playing as hard as he possibly can, and he better have done as much as he possibly could to get his body right, because this is his best chance to get a paycheck. And the only way he's going to get a good paycheck is if he stays healthy the entire season and plays well. And if he loses his job to Williams, that's not going to be good for him. So I do think that Williams is going to have to be pushing to get a chance. Noel Williams, I need to be clear on that, needs to be pushing Watson. And I think that that's going to make both of them better. So I think that he has the chance to start this year. I don't know that he will, but I think he's definitely in their plans to start in 2026.
Jalen Rose, fourth round, has a chance to be in a battle. It's not for a starting role. He won't be a starter this season. With Hollywood Brown on a one-year deal, we'll see if he has an opportunity following that. This is still a fourth-round selection. We're not talking another Rashee Rice here. But right now, he is going to be in a battle to be a rotational player. It is between that and just straight depth, which would be in case of emergency. And it really is, in my opinion, between him and Sky Moore and Juju Smith-Schuster. Can he compete and overtake either of those guys? As a rookie, I think it's possible. But even then, it's rotational for 2025, rotational for 2026 with an option to go to a starter.
Yeah, I would say that this is one where wide receiver is so tough because you have so many guys that come in and out. You don't generally have just three guys that run in at that position anymore. Yes, you technically have starters, but even some of the guys that don't start get 30 snaps, 40 snaps a game, depending on who you are. Justin Watson got a ton of snaps and wasn't a starter. To me, I think that you could be looking at a situation where he's rotational, especially early on, but I think he could be getting closer to being more your fourth or fifth wide receiver late in the season and getting ready for the playoffs.
It certainly could happen. Jeffrey Bassa, linebacker from Oregon. He is going to be a depth player, period. His chance to make this roster is on special teams. He will not be a starter anytime soon unless there's an emergency injury situation. We're not going there. Could he get to the point where it's rotational, where he's getting special teams reps instead of Jack Cochran or Cam Jones? I think that's possible, but I think that's a 2026. I think he's strictly depth in 2025.
So you don't think he's even going to be core special teamer in 2025?
I don't think so yet.
Okay. I think he is. I think that's the role that they got for him in 2025, because I don't think that you're going to have that many linebackers. You're going to have Cam Jones on this roster or Jack Cochran. You're going to have one of those two and Bassa. I don't think you're having both. I don't think you're having 6 linebackers. 6 linebackers. So to me, he's going to be, you don't call him a starter, but he's going to be somebody that's going to come in and be a core special teams guy, play all 4 phases in 2025. Can he become more than that in 2026? I don't think so, because I think Kansas City is going to be bringing back Chenal. I still think that they're going to bring back Chenal, so I don't think that he's going to be changing and becoming a starter at linebacker, but it's possible in 2026, and I would say even more likely in 2027, depending on obviously what happens in the draft over the next couple of years.
Rashard Smith, last selection in the 7th round, SMU running back. For me, he is a depth player in 2025, likely on the practice squad. But there will be an opportunity, in my opinion, specifically because of injury, where he could come up and be rotational to spell someone, whether it's the starter, whether it's the 3rd down back, whatever it is. I think he is depth, likely practice squad, but has a shot to get reps in 2025.
I would not be surprised if he ends up on the practice squad. That makes a lot of sense. And when you look back at Kareem Hunt, when you look back at Elijah Mitchell and Isaiah Pacheco, all those have had injuries in the past, in the recent past. They have 3 running backs that don't have the history of being able to play the entire season. So to me, you're going to need depth, and having another player that you can bring up from the practice squad. And even if you just activate him for a month or 2 while the rest of them are coming back from injury, he could get some rotational play that way. I agree with you. He's not going to be a starter in 2025. I don't think he'll have really even a chance to be a starter probably in his Chiefs career. I think he's always going to be rotational. Can he be depth in 2025? Yeah, I guess, but I would expect it's more going to be, as we said, one of those things where he's on the practice squad and becomes a rotational guy if injuries happen, and more so in 2026 being a rotational guy.
Makes perfect sense to me. What do you guys think? Leave your comments below with where you think the best spot and what we're going to see from 2025 and beyond for each of these players. We'd love to know your thoughts. We're going to have more for you. Our favorite picks. And moving on here tomorrow, Matt, Derek later in the week, and then we'll move through the UDFA class, et cetera, as we get closer. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell, be with us the whole time. This is the fun part. OTAs are coming. We'll see a little bit of these players, so get ready. Thanks for joining us today. Make sure that you're with us for the future, and we will talk to you tomorrow.